Hey, what's up guys? Kalamazi here, and today I wanted to bring you all some very brief testing of the 8.1.5 raid Crucible of Storms. The Restless Cabal was available for testing today, and while there were a great deal of stability issues with the servers, we were able to see a decent bit of the fight's actual mechanics, as well as the 75% health mechanics that each boss brings. If you're interested in any of the weak auras or add-ons you see here, I will have a link to my Twitch where I'll be streaming all of our progression, as well as my Discord in the description below, where you can acquire them all. There are a few mechanics that you need to pay attention to from each boss, but I would say the ones that the raid struggled with the most was the Cerebral Assault cast by the boss I'm just going to call Zaxxas at this point. It's a frontal cone based ability that can be seen before the cast completion, then disappears briefly before the actual cast goes off. It's very similar to the way Fetid Devourer's Rotten Regurgitation ability functions. If you're hit by it, you take a decent bit of shadow damage, but are also then hostile to your allies for 6 seconds, effectively losing control for said duration. It did seem that the ability could simply be outranged if you were far enough away, but it was also not too hard to shift out of. I would imagine that it would be more defined visually in later testing, however, as at times it was pretty hard to actually see with everything going on. Whenever either boss reaches 75, 50, or 25% health, they activate the nearest relic to them, which there are 3 of. They are the Void Stone, Trident of the Deep Ocean, and the Tempest Caller. The Void Stone reduces all healing received by 100% to players, and also places an Umbral Shell on the caster, absorbing roughly 900,000 damage on Heroic. Breaking the shell removes the healing reduction, but activating the Void Stone increases the caster's damage by 10%. The Trident places a bubble on the boss and redirects 75% of incoming damage. When the actual bubble expires, damage is then dealt based off of the absorb remaining on the shield. This effectively also increases the boss's damage by 10%. The final relic is the Tempest Caller that releases a storm for 15 seconds, dealing a fair amount of nature damage every 1 second and reduces damage dealt. If the storm strikes a player at 25% or less health, that player instantly dies, so it's a pretty big healing check. Once again, this further increases damage by 10% upon use. Finally, each boss has to effectively be taken to each of the 3 relics once, as if one of the 2 specific bosses is taken to one relic twice, they receive the Power Overwhelming buff, increasing their damage by 300%, effectively wiping the raid. There are also a few other mechanics that the bosses do on their own, so I'll place a guide in the video's description if you want to take a closer look at all of them specifically. While the servers were not very stable, I do think that the Restless Cabal is going to be a pretty awesome fight. With there being only 2 bosses in the Crucible of Storms raid, I was glad to see that the first boss did not disappoint. I was also pretty happy to see each Warlock spec performing well here, but with there being probably over 2 months until Crucible's release, a lot can and honestly will change in between then. We did have one more poll after this one, activating the Storm Relic, so if you want to see that, I will leave that final poll in the video after this one concludes. If you guys want to see more WoW content and help support the channel, smash those like, share, and subscribe buttons, as your support really helps, guys. Thanks so much, and I'll see y'all again soon. Peace.